Rabotai, yesterday we started speaking about some of the permissible ways of selecting on Shabbat. We said that all three conditions have to be met, which is biyad, miyad, and ochel mitov psolet. It's got to be done by hand, it's got to be done immediately, and it has to be food from waste and not vice versa. Now, you can infer from this halacha, like we spoke about yesterday, that if a person uses a utensil, a vessel, for the selecting, even if it's being done for immediate use, it's still going to be asur, which raises a question among the poskim. If a person uses, let's say, a fork or a spoon to do the borer, is that considered using a vessel for selecting or not? So there's a famous tshuva from Rav Moshe Feinstein in Igrot Moshe. He says it depends what you're using the fork for. He says if you could do it by hand easily, and you just don't want to because you don't want your hands to get dirty, so you're just using a fork to leave your hands clean, says that's mutar. That's considered an extension of your hand. However, if there's a mixture that's kind of very mixed together, and it would be hard to do it by hand, and the fork makes it much easier to do the selecting, he says then the fork becomes a utensil that is being used for the selecting, and it's asur. Maran Zichrono Bracha and Chazon Ovadia Shabbat Chelik Dalet disagrees with the Igrot Moshe, and he says no, regardless of how mixed up it is, a fork is always considered an extension of the hand, and it's always mutar to do borer in the permissible way using a fork. Now, for the same reason, Maran Zichrono Bracha says that it's clear that you're allowed to use a fork when you're separating, let's say, meat from a bone, or when you're separating, let's say, skin from chicken or whatever it is, because over there that's not considered a mixture. That's considered stuck together. When it's stuck together and it's not mixed, it's mutar to separate them. Therefore, since it's mutar to separate by hand, it's also mutar 100% to use a fork to do the same thing. The Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata brings down the same thing. If you have, let's say, meat or chicken that's in a soup or in a gravy, and you want to use a fork or a spoon to scoop it out, that's also considered 100% mutar, and the fork or the spoon are not considered a keli for borer. That's considered, once again, an extension of one's hand in all of these applications. Yom Tov.